Hi guys! So today we're going to do a masked makeup of a very popular Marvel character inspired by Deadpool, aka Wade Wilson. If you haven't seen this movie, I would definitely suggest you go watch it. It's about a comic book character who goes under some crazy experiments that accelerates healing powers and it leaves his face looking burnt. And he adopts this alter ego called Deadpool to hide his face from all of the crazy experiments. So today we're just gonna do that. But with a little twist, I'm gonna do his scarred up face and it being unmasked with the whole Deadpool outfit. I'm gonna body paint everything. It's gonna be so cool. So stay tuned and let's see how this turns out. First off, I'm putting my hair up in a very low ponytail and slicking it back with some hairspray. And the reason why we're doing the low ponytail is because I'm going to put a bald cap on, which is basically like a tight-fitting glove for your head and makes you look bald and very creepy and alien-like. And just to be clear, no, I am not naked. I do have some type of clothing on. I'm first putting it on just to measure it and cut it down to fit my head. Taking it off to secure my hair a little bit more and putting it in a braid because we really want it low down in a ponytail and flat against our backs. Especially if you're doing any type of cosplay costume, this will hide inside of your costume, your hair, if you have long hair of course. Putting the bald cap back on and making sure it fits well, and I'm making sure that this bald cap goes over my ears because it's going to be the mask of Deadpool. That's why I'm leaving excess bald cap on my neck as well, and gluing it down with toeless. This is very expensive adhesive, and if you do not have this, you could definitely use prosaide. Whenever I use prosthetic makeup glues, I try to use Q-tips only because this could totally destroy your makeup brushes and it will leave you sad and very upset if you destroy your makeup brushes. I know I would be. So I'm just going along the seams of it and make sure your seams are well done and pasted down. If your seams are not well done and there's some like little cracks in between from your skin to the bald cap, you could stipple down some liquid latex to make it blend into your skin better on any mistakes you may have done on the bald cap. If you have very big cracks and seams, instead of liquid latex, you could also use something called bondo with a spatula like this. And now it is time to cover my eyebrows. You guys know the steps. I'm using Elmer's glue, doing a layer of that, let it get tacky and dry a little bit, then putting down some powder. I do this about for 3 layers or so. That's the amount of layers I need for the thickness of my eyebrows, depending on how thick your eyebrows. You want to do 2 to maybe even 6 layers, depending on how massive your eyebrow hairs are. And on each layer of glue, make sure you put that powder down. And make sure each layer is completely dry before you move on to the next one. Now that our eyebrows are definitely disappearing, it looks like we got in a very bad accident with a razor. I'm going to get a white eyeliner pencil and start outlining the mask of Deadpool. I am doing a seam in between the bridge of my nose and my cheeks to where the mask is going to be unveiling to show his scarred up face underneath the mask. I really wanted to do something really cool and have different effects instead of just painting on the solid mask and body painting. So I'm going to paint the mask on, do a body painting, and do the scars underneath his mask as well. Sounds complicated, but you will definitely have to see later. Once that mask is outlined, I'm gonna do the whole body suit of Deadpool, outline it on my chest. Instead of going through all this work, you could definitely just get a Deadpool outfit with the mask and just do the scar mark tissue on his face underneath, or just paint on the scar mark tissue in the mask. So many different variations of this Marvel character you could do. Once you did the outline of the upper part of his mask and the bodysuit, we are going to get 3rd Degree. This is a product used to make scar marks, burn effects. You get equal parts of A and B. They come in 2 bottles. Make sure you don't mix them together until you put them on a palette. And you're going to do raised marks around the edges of your mouth. Make sure you have a reference picture for this to look at Wade Wilson and where exactly his scar marks on his face are, especially with unique scar tissue like this on your face. You want it to look like real meaty flesh. You want it to have like streaks of raised marks and it nicely blend into your skin without many seams. And you have to work pretty fast with this. It sets pretty quickly, so I do very small batches and then apply them to my face. I'm also using the scar material on my nose to make it a different size to look more like Wade's, and his is definitely looking more like of a melted scarification. If you do not have 3rd Degree because it's pretty pricey, you could definitely use gelatin. But be safe with the gelatin and make sure you heat it properly. Do not burn your actual skin because that could happen. I'll put a link down below in the description box of a video that I did use gelatin, and I'm doing it on the upper part of my neck as well. When you apply this fake scar tissue to your neck area, you want to make sure it doesn't settle in the seams in your neck because that moves a lot and it will come apart. Now, once you think you have enough scar tissue on your face, I'm going to use some liquid foundation to cover that scar tissue to match my skin tone and have a base that I could put other paints on after. This A and B does come in flesh tone, but it still comes out a little clear for me. That's why I'm putting down this foundation as well. And then powdering it with translucent powder to set it all to put more makeup on top. Now that our face looks like it's been sliced up by Freddy Krueger, I'm going to get some alcohol paint in a blood tone with a stippling sponge and a paintbrush to paint around the scar tissue on my face. You want to do darker areas of like this blood tone on the edges of the scar tissue and have those like keeping it flesh tone and have it looked more raised. It's definitely going to look like a mix of Freddy Krueger with a little bit of a more gruesome Edward Scissorhands scarification. Now, alcohol palettes are not for the inexperienced. If you do not have alcohol palettes because they are pricey and it's more for people who are experienced with alcohol palettes, you could use cream makeup instead. More darker blood tones in certain areas as well. I'm getting a more purpley blue tone alcohol blood color and doing around the edges of the mask and the edges of my mouth as well. Getting the stipple sponge and doing more blood textures across the whole face. The stipple sponge is going to give it more rashy-like quality and make it more realistic. Because once you have that scarification bottom part of your face looking like it was injured just like Wade's, we are going to move on to painting the mask. First, I got a NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Black Bean to start the outline of the eyes that I drew on of the mask, but then I decided to do the red body paint first to cover his bald cap or the top part of the mask. Because it's easier to add black paint than to subtract it and to do the red makeup first, honestly. So this is just aqua paint. I use the brand Wolfe Brothers. You can use Midnight, Paradise, any type of Mayron palette. It is harder to use aqua paints on bald caps, so you may want to use like a grease cream paint instead. But this one that I use is very high quality and very pigmented, and I've done it on bald caps before. Making sure we go over that outline that I drew on before. It kind of reminds me of Spider-Man. That's why I loved doing this. And then getting the black cream paint to cover those eye shapes that we outlined before. He kind of looks like a bloody alien, to be honest with you. And I'm doing a little bit of a line of a seam on where the mask is crinkling up as I'm lifting it to show my scarred face underneath the mask, just like Wade has in Deadpool. I'm blending some of the parts with my fingers because his eyes aren't totally pitch black. They have definite color variations of highlights. So I'm looking at the reference picture of Deadpool to make sure I'm doing these eyes correctly because the inside of the eyes is definitely more pigmented with the black and then there's some gray tones around it. With that black cream paint, I also mixed it with some white to make a gray tone to mix in with the eye color of these big black shapes on his mask. And the reason why I'm using cream paints on my eyebrows is because I do not want aqua paints on those eyebrow covers that I did earlier with the glue and powder, because aqua paints would definitely break that down and cream paints won't. You want to make sure you mix that gray tone perfectly to do some highlight marks in the eye shapes of the mask. And do the same thing on the other eye and making sure the black even covers my eyelids and under my eyes. I'm not going to do the white shapes of the really center part of his eyes because we are going to put some crazy contacts later. But if you do not want to use crazy contacts, you could definitely paint over your eyelid just like a white shape. Or just leave your eyes open if you really want to like do a whole cosplay thing where you're walking around with this Deadpool painted on mask. Now, once you think those eye shapes are pigmented enough and painted on well, we are going to get some matte black eyeshadow with a very thin angled makeup brush that people usually use this for eyeliner, but I'm going to draw on the details of the stitch marks of this mask. I'm making sure I'm trying to do as much detail as possible. That's why I always tell you get reference pictures. And with a fluffy eyeshadow brush, I'm also patting that matte eyeshadow in different type of shade marks around the mask. Because throughout the movie, he does get down and dirty and he has his costume that color for a reason because it's very gruesome and bloody. Making sure you leave those folded up details on the mask that you painted on earlier because you want to make sure it has the realistic effect of veiling his scarred up face under it. Since my head shape isn't exactly like Wade Wilson's Deadpool's in the movie, I am doing some of the shadow as well on my ears because my ears stick out more and my head is not as square on the top as his is, unfortunately. And once you think that mask is painted on well, we are going to move on to body painting. I'm getting the red aqua paint that I used on the mask and painting around the collar of my neck, leaving an inch below of our scar effect makeup on our neck, in between that and where we're going to start this new red body painting because we're going to paint on a black collar in between the scarred neck and this red body painting later. You want to make sure you have very high quality body paintings for this, or else your makeup will look patchy. Use a makeup brush with just enough water. You don't want it to be too watery to where your paint will bleed everywhere. It won't have much detail, but you don't want it too thick where it's going to be patchy and skip. It's kind of like painting on a canvas, or if you've ever done watercolor painting, but on your body. This is why we did the outline of the whole costume before. You want to do the red parts first. It's kind of like putting a puzzle together. Make sure you look at the reference pictures on where the red goes on this costume. And once you think you have the red parts of the outfit completely saturated enough, you're going to move on to the black aqua paint parts of this bodysuit of Deadpool. Doing that color that I spoke about before between the scarred face and where the costume starts on the red. It's going to be like an inch thick collar, and he has these cool shoulder pads, and we're going to paint those in as well. And he has this really cool like black piece above his other shoulder pad that kind of looks like a shoulder fanny pack. Maybe he stores some weapons in there, or his cute little unicorn stuffed animal from the movie. I'm making this movie sound a lot cuter than it is. It's very gruesome and intense and not for a younger audience, but the makeup was so cool and I really want to do this. So once you think you have the black parts of the costume painted on and saturated, I'm gonna get that light gray paint I used for the highlights on the eye parts of his mask and do the little details of the buckles, hardware all over his costume, especially that neck piece to start off with. And he has like this buckle formation on that little shoulder fanny pack thing I was talking about. And the highlights you want to paint on these shoulder pads is going to make it look so much more realistic. I think it's more impressive to paint this on than to just buy a costume. I mean, imagine Halloween comes around and you're a guy and you want to be shirtless with a painted on Deadpool outfit. How cool will that be? Sometimes I wish I was a guy. That sounds weird, but I could get away with so many more makeups and not have to worry about wearing a top. Does that sound odd? I don't know, who cares? There's going to be a mixture of some hard lines with this gray tone and some blended out parts. That's why you kind of want to use your fingers but not smear the makeup too much. In between the layers of this body paint and the highlight marks and other layers of like the black eyeshadow you use, you may want to powder your makeup down so that it will grab on more and blend out easier. I didn't do that because I want this to look more grungy, and I've practiced doing layering eyeshadows with makeup before. But if you haven't had enough practice of layering eyeshadows with body paint makeup, you may want to powder down in between the body painting and the eyeshadows and other makeups you put on top of the body painting. Making this look realistic and blending things out as much as possible is key. That's why I'm getting that black matte eyeshadow with a very thin eyeshadow brush like I used before on the mask, and doing the lines of his outfit. He has like these panels that remind me of the shells of Ninja Turtles. That would be a very creepy makeup to do. I don't know if I could accomplish it, but we're gonna do like the panels of his outfit. Doing the detail of it, it kind of reminds me of a weird shield, or like I said, the Ninja Turtle shell. And getting the matte black eyeshadow with the big fluffy brush again and doing some dingier marks of shadows. It's definitely going to make different parts of the panels of the shield stand out more and look more realistic, like a real outfit. You wanted to wear this outfit, if you show it to someone, you're like, oh my gosh, I thought that was clothes. I can't believe you painted that on. I usually don't say do things to impress other people, but with body painting, I think that's the whole point of it. You want this to look realistic and as crazy cool as possible. And once you think you have that accomplished, I am going to get a black eyeliner pencil and outline the rims of my eyeballs. If you're not comfortable with putting eyeliner that close to your eye, you do not have to do this. And if you already did the white parts of the eye, like I said, and don't want to do this, I'm definitely putting in some special effects contact lenses that whites out my eye completely. I wouldn't do this unless you're doing like a photo shoot or a really crazy costume thing, or if you are experienced enough in contact lenses. But if you just want to skip everything, just have your eyes open all the time, that's totally fine. But I really want it to look realistic as possible. And I happen to have some black gloves because I wanted my hands black but not paint them completely. And my gloves are patterned and textured, so I just put the pattern and texture of the glove on the palms of my hands. It looks a little weird, but I think it's as close to the black gloves of Deadpool without completely just painting my hands. It was the only black gloves I had. And now we are completely done with this Deadpool makeup look. I hope you enjoyed me painting on Wade Wilson's scarred face, unveiling underneath the Deadpool mask. This movie is definitely rated R, not for smaller children, but I really loved it and was inspired to do this makeup. I had fun just dancing in this Deadpool outfit. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This makeup took around 3 hours, but it was so much fun to do. But now it is sadly time to take this off. First, of course, I need to take those contacts off because I want to see perfectly clear. And then I'm taking this bald cap off. If you guys have been following me on Snapchat, you may know that I did get an allergic reaction from the glue that I used on this bald cap around my neck area, but not my face, luckily. So I would definitely use prosaide instead of the toeless I use if you have very sensitive skin. Carefully take off this mask if you use prosaide or any glue with some isopropyl myricate. I think I didn't soak my neck in isopropyl myricate enough. That's probably why I got a skin reaction. But I do have very sensitive skin, so it was very easy to take off the scar fake tissue on my face because I didn't glue them down or anything. That's why it was so hard to pose with this, because all that scarification tissue around your mouth, you can't really open your mouth that much. This took so many baby wipes to take off and at least 2 showers. Body painting is something you have to be dedicated to because you will get dirty and messy and have to take multiple showers. But I hope you guys had fun watching this. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, everywhere to see when new makeups will come out and some sneak peeks. I love to hear from you guys and seeing your pictures of you doing the makeups for my videos. Leave me a comment of who your favorite superhero is. I know Wade Wilson, Deadpool, is not really considered a superhero to some people, but he's one of my top 3 favorites. I think Spider-Man's my first favorite. And as always, I'll list down below in the description box of all the products I used for this makeup look. I know that I didn't take away all the makeup, I still look a little bit crazy, and I'm gonna take some showers, and I gotta go, but I love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye!